So we go get some medicine, and the medicine says what? This treats the symptoms. It does not say cure. It says the symptoms, right? So we're going to get to the core root of the problem today, and we're going to try to attack that core problem and get to the root of it. So here are the general signs, okay? Number one, mood changes. Y'all know how it is. Your son come home or your husband come home, and you can look at him and tell something wrong with him. And you say, what's wrong? And what do we say? Nothing. Mood changes. Noticeable shifts in mood, energy level, or appetite. Okay? You know, Big Mama used to say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. See, if you don't want to eat, something wrong. Right? Sleep disturbances. Difficulty sleeping or sleeping too much. Okay? Difficulty concentrating, trouble focusing or maintaining attention. Increased worry or stress, feeling overwhelmed or anxious. Substance use, misuse of alcohol, drugs, or both. Anger or irritability. I said anger or irritability. Increased outburst or a short temper. It says physical complaints, headaches, discomfort, body aches, escapist behaviors, engaging in activities to avoid difficult emotions, isolation and withdrawal, social distancing or withdrawing from activities, increased risk-taking, engaging in impulsive or reckless behavior, and physical aggression, increased aggression, or violent behavior. And so, beloved, we have a book somewhere in this bookstore by Dr. Joy DeGruy entitled Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And the reason that Black men suffer in silence and in pain is because it's difficult for us to find an outlet, the proper outlet, to really express how we feel. Because we don't want to feel weak. We don't want to feel less of a man. So we may turn to other sources. Now, many therapists will tell you that, you know, it's not enough to pray about it. Okay? I would say that you should pray. Because prayer, according to the Holy Quran, it says, surely hearts find rest in the remembrance of Allah or the remembrance of God. So you should pray. But when you get up from your prayer room or you come out of your prayer closet, you have to recognize when God is trying to answer your prayer, right? He may send somebody that you went to school with and you may see them and you brushed them off because they still owe you $20 from high school. That nigga still owe me $20. And you brush him off, but God sent that man into your life. And he may remember he owed you $20 and he was ready to give you $500. See? So when we pray, we got to look for the answer to our problem. And so sometimes the problem may come and a solution may come for you to deal with what's disturbing you mentally, because if you do not deal with what is disturbing you mentally, it can only get worse. If you block it in, bottle it in, just the proper circumstance will bring it out, and then we'll go postal. Anybody work for the post office? Nobody? Go postal. And cuss everybody out and start causing damage to everybody. So, beloved, I close with this. Listen, you got to know what was to know what is, right? So if you study our history in America and all that we suffered as Black men and how we've been deprived of power and dominion, I mean to the point where we go home and we call a dog and the dog don't come. That's disturbing. No power at all, right? So in order for us to regain that power, first we got to get reconnected back to our creator, because if your computer don't come on or your television don't come on and you reach for the owner's manual and the first thing it says is check the power source. If you disconnect it, you don't have no power, right? And if we disconnect it from one another, we can't help one another power through our pain. All right? So we need one another. And so let's be aware of mental health and let's work together with one another so that we can curb the rise in suicide, violence, and mental illness among Black men in America.
That was beautiful.
So we're going to listen to this song and then we're going to go into the questions.
And take my pain like an empty bottle takes the rain and heal and take my past and take my sins like an empty cell takes the wind and heal, 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 and tell me something less, and tell me something less, because something, tell me something less, because heal, 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 heal. Lord, you're the only one that can do it for me. We need you. We need you to heal, Jesus. Oh, you're the only one. You're the only one that can heal. So please heal from depression, Jesus, from suicidal thoughts. Please, you're the only one that can do it. From sickness, restoration right now.
Wow. So nice. Well, assistant, so that was a beautiful song. Talk about healing. It's very important. You definitely want to heal, when you go through things.
Absolutely.
Mentally and physically. All right, so now we're going to get into the panel and the questions. Are you ready? Yes, we are.
Oh, we missing somebody.
Yeah, we missed Brother Albertus. Come on up here. It's okay, y'all. All right. So we got our first question. It asks, what are the signs of mental health disorder?
We'll start with Aaron right here.
When it comes to mental health disorders, as far as signs, there's a lot of things you want to take into consideration. Keep in mind that when it comes to mental disorders, every individual is different, so it may show it in a different way based on that individual. But one thing that I will say is a few basic things just to look into is understanding their state of mind, their perspective on life. Our biggest thing to look out for is also how they view themselves and how they value themselves. And when it comes to just looking at the things that they do or how they conduct themselves, if it doesn't pertain to them valuing themselves or it doesn't align with them trying to be the best version of themselves, that's something that you may have to look out for. Even if it's something minor that you see ahead of time, if that prolongs and it's not checked out, that could be something that could eventually escalate down the line if it's not taken care of. That's the name of a few.
Yes, sir. Anyone else like to answer that? Yes, sir.
I would say, despite what I just read, but I would say a detachment from reality and not being able to function in your environment. When you see people purposely detaching themselves or isolating themselves from people. Some people use the excuse, well, I'm being spiritual, so I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna meditate all day. No, you're not proving that you're spiritual by staying away from people. You're just showing that you are unable to deal with people, and so you're just trying to stay away from them. So when you see somebody that's staying at their home all day and don't go, they don't talk to their neighbor, they don't come out, that's a sign. So when you see people detaching from reality and not being able to deal with it, that's a clear sign.
Yes, sir.
Jamil?
I select the peace family. I would say the signs of mental disorder, just by like actually being with the youth, is you noticing things that are wrong. Sometimes you have people that may come around and their language starts to change, the behavior, how they start to speak. This maybe today they was talking about building something, and the next day they may be talking about harming someone or even themselves or taking from someone. So it's watching the language of the person that you are dealing with. So because the language will tell us a lot about where that person is going, and what that person is trying to do in their life. So I would say watching their behavior and watching their language.
Grief is, and that's one of the hardest burden on man since the beginning of time. It's grief, and watch a person on a daily basis, like if you step on somebody's toe, watch their reaction. Man, just an accident. They get mad and angry. You might bump their car. Accidents do happen, and they get out and fierce fight. So you might go home, and your wife, what you want? So you watch a person as they go through anxiety and things like that, and you want to, when you see this, you want to come to a medium, because you got this art that we deal with. It's affinity, communication, and reality. And we could deal with this art. When we see a person like that, we can deal with this art to calm that person down, as well as calm or bring you up on the tone scale. Like everybody wanted the list as we talk. I want you to notice this list of the tone scale, how we can bring ourselves up and how we can bring people we're dealing with up on this tone scale. But anxiety and grief, that's one of the ways. First, tell the individual when you on any level, when you're on your workplace, in a relationship, on any level, you want to first approach that individual on the way he's carrying himself, on his tone level at present time, and then you know how to deal with it. And then sometimes you might have to just walk away. If it's just total death, and I mean death from an emotional standpoint. And sometimes you might just want to just walk away and just leave it alone. But anxiety is one of the ways to tell it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what some of the side, I think, Brother Minsley mentioned earlier, we are people in denial. We can have bad health and still not want to get help. You can be smoking a cigarette and say, I gotta go to the doctor, my chest hurts. You don't want to go to the doctor. I had one of my clients told me this week, I'm talking to her. My chest hurts, Ms. Muhammad. So you're not gonna go to the hospital. No, I got 2 other appointments. I'm gonna wait till my chest. I can't. My pain, my chest hurts. And another thing, we don't like to work out. We run from the gym. We run from exercise. We run from walking. Walking is one of the best exercises we can get at this exercise. Walking. The study so walking is the first thing you can start doing. Just start walking. You can walk as a group, as a family. But Steve and his wife, they walk all the time. But you have to start burning these calories, these unwanted calories that's on our body, because your body will let you know when something is wrong. Your body will let you know. Your body, as Brother Nuri said, your body is made to move. We didn't have health problems until we came to this country. Our history shows we didn't have no health problems. We were always in shape until we got here. And then we pick up some language like, I never heard nobody say, we always talk about, man, I'm getting old. We always talk about, I'm getting old. No, we always talk, we just broadcasting like this. You're going to get old, yes, and that you're going to get old. We just an old. Yeah, don't rush. But we can't run. You got to work on your body. If you eat, you should work out. Plain and simple. If you eat, you should work out. So don't run from the gym. Getting rid of stress and anxiety, working out. Build self-esteem.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, Sarah.
A few things that I know weren't mentioned that I have come across and have had experience with dealing with is indecisiveness. Very indecisive. It takes them, what may take us a couple of minutes to make a decision on something may take them hours. It may take them days. And the best thing to do is be patient with them. But indecisiveness is one thing I've seen is a sign of mental health. Another thing is always finding fault with somebody else. Never you try to build relationships with. It could be your neighbor. You cool at first, and then 2 months in, you talking about some, it's complaints and everything, it could be the little old lady down the street that's always speaking to you. You're going to find something wrong with, that she has an issue with, that person has an issue with you, that person has an issue with you, that person has an issue with you. It's always, somebody else has an issue with them. So that's another 2 signs that I've seen of mental health issues.
Yes, I would like to share with you that physical health or physical appearance is a huge sign of mental health. When you see young ladies coming out in public with the big bonnets on their heads, rollers in their head, their pajamas, showing every part of their body, that's a mental health issue. Okay, number 2, eating disorders, either overeating or not eating at all. That's a sign of mental health. There's an emotional issue that's going on. So when you look at little kids that are gaining weight, they're dealing with a lot of home issues. That's triggering that. And then, of course, when you have parents that are constantly allowing their kids and themselves to eat at fast food restaurants, that's a mental issue. Okay? Not just a lack of knowledge, but a mental issue, part of a mental issue. Okay?
Thank you. But Lee, did you have a comment on that?
No, I mean, we deal with the one question. I wasn't saying it was wrong. But I just want to add to what Sister Erica was saying, that people who are always in conflict
Yes.
are conflicted.
Yes.
Okay? As I said on Sunday, if you're not at peace with yourself, you can't be at peace with nobody else.
That's right.
Right? So if somebody's always in conflict, that is a sign that they're not at peace, right? Because peace of mind is considered mental health, right? So if somebody's always agitated and always looking for a fight or always a conflict, then that's a sign of mental health. And in this world, I was studying this earlier that about the misdiagnosis of mental illness, specifically with Black men. They may be misdiagnosed as being schizophrenic because they up one day, down the next, but it's really just depression and anxiety that they're going through. And then when you start putting them on medication based on a misdiagnosis, it gets worse, right? So let's not disconnect the physical reality from the mental reality, because what Brother Alvarez was saying is absolutely right. What affects the body affects the mind. What affects the mind affects the body. So if you're not getting a sound mind dwells in a sound body, right? So if you don't take care of one, you're not taking care of the other. Oh, we horseback.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do Benjamin, yeah.
Can I continue
Yes,
what he was
ma'am.
saying?
Absolutely.
For a lack of a better word. Because I don't eat the pig either. So anyway, yes, there is a lot of confusion in mental health as far as individuals being misdiagnosed. I had an experience where a lady came to my office about a month ago who was going through menopause. Okay, but unfortunately, she was diagnosed with depression and added medication to help her depression, which of course, drugs is not the total answer. Okay, so therefore, it's like was misdiagnosed, because when you talk about mental health, like you started, my brother, there are 3 classes. You're dealing with mood, which of course has a lot to do with depression. Okay, also has a lot to do with anxiety, bipolar, a number of mood changes. But you're still able to function. Okay, you're still able to function properly. You got a second class is dealing with damage to the brain, and chemicals to the brain.
Right.
That, of course, a person that may had a stroke, now they have damage to the brain.
Yes.
Okay, that would do what? Could trigger dementia, Alzheimer's. Okay, but they're still able to function. Okay, but your third class is that person is really insane, that really do need to be admitted, because they're dealing with severe depression and also schizophrenia and what have you. They can't function on their own. All right. So when you talk about which class am I in and being misdiagnosed, that's happening a whole lot, especially in the Black community. So as we'll talk about, I'm sure we got a question.
Oh, yeah.
How we can deal with the causes and stuff and conditions. So yeah.
Mr. Jamil, you'll be right back.
Real quick, I just want to, most definitely for the parents, I want us to really try to take heed to this and listen to this. The mental disorder, when I looked it up, is a wide range of conditions that affect the mood, thinking, and behavior. In society now, everybody is noticing this vape thing that's going around. Vaping and weed. A lot of times the children are self-medicating to cope with whatever is taking place in their mind. And that is causing us to be totally out of order. So when you see a child who is constantly vaping, you may think, oh, they just have an addiction problem. But a lot of times they're doing that to escape reality.
Right.
So we have to be able to see that those are things that we're going to have to set up other alternatives to get us to stop self-medicating and get us back on medicating without drugs and alcohol or anything else that will take us into a health condition as far as a mental condition. So that's something I want to respect.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next question, thank y'all for those comments and answers. The next question is, how can we eradicate mental health illness? How can we eradicate?
Change the diet.
Food plays
Change
a
the
big part.
diet, yeah. Because we are what we eat and we are what we assimilate in our body, what we drink, what we breathe. Okay, the movement of our body, like the brother said about exercising, you know, of running away from that. We have to continue to move our body. We have, number one with that, we have to continue to move our body in order to have the blood to circulate and allow good nutrients to flow through that blood versus toxins. We have to avoid toxicity. And unfortunately, we live in the USA. It's a very toxic country, okay? Dr. Toes, that I went through some classes with, said that we are 90% toxic and 10% human. So, and that's so true, because all the food, people wonder, why are we having mental issues? Why are we having diabetes and cancer so rapidly? We have to eat. We have to eat food. We can't starve. But what we're getting is poor quality food. So when you think about our children, why they end up on ADD, ADHD medication and a number of things like that, is because of what they're getting. They're on a poor diet, you know, that's full of sugar, that's full of other chemicals that are drugs. So they don't have to, you know, go pop some pills or vape or whatever. They're getting it legally and they're paying for it, and they're eating that type of food 3 times a day. So to resolve that as much as possible is to change the diet to as much as possible to eat organic foods, start growing your own food so you know what's in that food, and start drinking cleaner water, get good quality fats into the body to help feed the brain, because every organ in our body needs nutrients, but the brain is one of the most easiest organ, or what I want to say, sensitive organ that takes on a lot of chemicals that we breathe. That's why aromatherapy is so helpful, because it's what we inhale are good fresh herbs, oils that help to change the function of the brain. Okay, but when you take in the sugars and the caffeines and you don't move that body to help deplete that out, then it's staying up there. And there's a whole lot more to that, but I keep it simple because I know we got other people.
Yes, she had a lot of what I had to say. First, we have to have the right thoughts. You know, we have to stop telling ourselves, well, we got to die from something. We got to stop saying that.
That's right, that's right.
We have a lot of thoughts in the black community, but we got to die from something. You know, and then, you know, we were taught to eat the wrong foods. We still eating slave diet. So back, chitlins and hog head cheese, the hog nose, the hog foot and stuff. The collard greens, the cornbread, and we call it soul food, but it's taking your soul. You know, that stuff cooked in grease and salt and all this stuff. So we have the worst gift on the planet. You know, so we have to have the right thoughts. And then when we decide to make a change, to change our diet and exercise and to work out, you should be patient with yourself. You know, it didn't take the weight. The weight didn't come on overnight. It took time. So it's gonna take some time to come off. But you gotta start putting in the work. It'll come off. So these fast crash diets don't work. How to eat to live works.
That's right, that's right.
Fasting works.
Yes, sir.
Yes, if I may bend you back here. The reason they called it the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, because the food has become like drugs. What Brother Jamil said about self-medication, food has become a form of self-medication.
Haagen-Dazs ice cream. I ain't heard nobody put it in. Chick-fil-A. Man, they gotta have drugs in Chick-fil-A.
Man.
Anytime you see a line going all the way around the corner, there gotta be some drugs in that food, right? And if you go to your kitchen, man, and you got some packaging and you read the ingredients and you can't even pronounce some of those ingredients, you need to throw that in the trash. It definitely was made in a laboratory, okay? So that does affect the brain cells, right? And the way we think. Food has effect not only on the way we think, but our behavior. You know, there's certain type of food that we eat around certain time where you see the behavior change of people. Let's try 4th of July when everybody barbecuing and then watch the gunshots that come after all of that and the fighting and the tempers rise, right? Food has an effect on our behavior and our reaction. There are certain foods that can bring you down, certain foods that can bring you up, right? And so if you always eating food that's rich in processed food, high in sugar and whatnot, that's going to affect the brain cells. Now, on the other side of that, on the other side of physical food, I would say to get rid of mental illness, there is mental food.
Okay.
Okay? The proper mental food will get rid of this mental illness because we're taught that Elijah Muhammad taught us that the brain cells of the original man and woman was made to think right, right? But we start our children off believing in Mr. Snuffleupagus.
What's that?
Oscar lives, whatever that is. Oscar lives in a trash can. You wonder why he got a bad attitude? Because he's living in a trash can. Right? A big bird can talk. Mickey Mouse can talk. Daffy Duck can talk. This is not in line with reality. And as we grow up as grown people, we don't feed on the right mental food, right? So if we wake up in the morning, I don't understand how somebody can wake up first thing in the morning and you blasting Steve Harvey. I ain't got nothing against Steve Harvey, but I need quiet in the morning. Yes. My grandmama used to tell me, boy, be quiet, I can hear myself think, right? So our community is always loud. When we really turn up the music loud, we're really trying to drown out our own thoughts.
Oh, my goodness.
And if we don't take inventory of our own thoughts and deal with our own thoughts, we can't deal with the mental illness that's growing up inside of us.
Right.
All right? So, and finally, music has been weaponized against us.
Yes.
Okay? I'm going to give away my age right quick, okay? With age, brother. Okay. So, Public Enemy comes out with an album.
Oh, you still young.
Ah, okay, all right. No. I watched the birth of hip hop, though. I'm just. I watched the birth of hip hop. So they came out, and we was listening to them, right? And then some people started wearing African medallions.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Exactly.
And then NWA came out. And I knew people I went to school with, they literally started robbing stores because they heard NWA talking about nobody move, nobody get hurt.
Right.
And they want to take that and duplicate that in their lives.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now music when you know when a gangbanger is about to go make a hit, you know, they play certain music that's gonna get them in the mood to do that.
Right.
So music has been weaponized against us, so we have to be careful about the mental diet that we take in television, in music, through books, through magazines, and we gotta monitor what our children are ingesting mentally because it can actually cause us to act other than ourselves and drive us crazy.
Right.
Thank you.
To eradicate means to destroy completely or to put it into. When you look at mental health, when you look at the mental illness and the mental health crisis in our community, it's 3 components that I look at: spiritual, physical, and your environment. The first step being spiritual, because everything starts with the mind. You can't have any actions if you don't have the thought to do it. So when I look at it, we have to recognize the first step to completely destroying that is to recognize that we are a sick people. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to understand that regardless of what state that you're in, it's always a better state that we can come up to.
Right.
And once we recognize that, we now then have to start to take the proper action to be able to start to heal ourselves and to clean that up. What does the proper action look like? Number one, you can start with prayer. Then from there, faith without works is dead. You got to start going to therapy. You have to start going to counseling. As the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan went out and found the technology for us and to introduce to our people, is a thing called auditing, where you are in control of whatever you're talking about, and you just having someone to listen. Because you know how we be when we gossip and we talk to the people. We want them to listen to us. We want them to feel us. We want them so that we can, so inside we can be consoled. Well, imagine we did that for the evil thoughts that's in your mind.
Right.
The negative thoughts that's in your mind. The murderous thoughts, the sick thoughts, the things that we see on all these social media platforms. So those are some of the things that I think and I see that we can do to eradicate and completely destroy the mental illness crisis in our communities.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, I'll be real brief. Actually, the last two brothers just spoke, they actually articulated that perfectly in my eyes. But one thing just to kind of add to what they were just mentioning is that one way to eradicate it is going back to change of scenery, the atmosphere, and the environment. When it comes to your environment, you know, where you reside at, what you see every day when you wake up, what you're exposed to every day, it has a huge psychological impact on you, whether it's good or bad. So if we look at our community as a whole, there's a lot of toxic things that are taking place. Whatever we talk about, bad music, the gunshots and gang violence that are taking place, even also what's taking place in the household between, you know, mom and dad as well as the siblings. So when you take all those things into consideration, that's a huge problem that we have to definitely eradicate. So again, that's something that we're exposed to on a daily basis.
Yes, sir.
So then we can, like you both mentioned, finding ways to make even like little changes that can eventually turn into big changes later on. But just recognizing those few things early on, hopefully that can turn into something later on.
Yeah, very good. And I want to add on what Brother Jamil and the minister was saying. And all this is good because what we take in mentally and physically has a lot to do with the way we feel. That makes our stamina. But what about just, and Brother Jamil and I talk about this all the time. I get in my car and go home, then I see a billboard that say baby dolls. You know, and they got this, and my mind is clear, you know, and so I got all this foolishness behind it. But I see this big old sign that says baby doll, 3 miles.
Okay.
And they got this woman sitting up here, you know, in this bikini. So there you go, your mind is twisted. Your mind go back again. So, so what I'm saying is we have to deal with this on a regular basis. Just don't. Even though we might have it in our home, even though the parents might teach us that, we might read it, it's still gonna be out there. Those interferences still gonna be out there. So how do we handle that? You know, how do we handle that as parents to our children? How we teach our, when we go to work, our children are seeing this. So how do we deal with this? And that's come through family structure, and I know we're gonna talk about that later. So we still got, even what we saying, we still got this we have to deal with.
It's the world we live in.
Yes, the world we live in. And the brother hit it right on the head when he said through dynamics, and that's talking and sharing. Once those engrams and once those dangers get in your head, blow them on out with somebody. Let somebody sit up there and share with you those concepts and ideas. And let's get rid of that. Thank you.
We're gonna move on to our next question. I do want to say, what point out to me what you all were saying was the food. We're living in a time now where we have food deserts going on. So every time we step out the house, it's either a corner store at the end of this street. It's just all there. And where do you see most of our black people shop? There. Let's point that out. Okay, so for our next question, it says, what are some of the signs of anxiety and depression? And we're also going to keep the answers to a limited of 3 minutes.
We got to that. You know they'll come.
So, who would like to?
You said signs of anxiety
And depression.
and depression. Anxiety, you can, a lot of us experience anxiety. I had trauma myself, just driving a vehicle that was not supposed to have any issues. And you guys know if you live in Fort Worth, that High Bridge right there at 20 and 35. And so one morning, early morning, heading to the school in Crowley. It was about 5, maybe 6 a.m. in the morning. It was dark, and this particular car of mine ended up front in line and making some crazy movements at the very top. And so that traumatized me as far as causing me to have anxiety whenever I get close to bridges now. Okay, so of course, one of the things that I started doing is praying and asking God to deliver me from that, because I don't. And sometimes take the road to travel, not just to play. And so God started reminding me that CBD. And so I had some CBD, and I started taking CBD to help with, you know, calming me down when I had to drive that direction in the morning, because I was determined that I was going to beat this. Okay, so yes, I would have sweating, you know, I would just like get really nervous, and I'm like, I can't do it, I can't do it. So I would get there so far, and I would just take and go the direction of Felix and go down the surface road, you know. But, you know, after a while, I just kept praying and asking God to deliver me from that, because I did not want that to become a disease to me, okay? And so making sure that I fed my nervous system with different herbs like ashwagandha, also working on my adrenal glands, making sure that I detoxed and cleansed my body out. And of course, like I say, kept adding, prayer. And then I have a formula called Anxious List that I started taking as well. And so now I'm able to go over quite a few bridges, but I'm still, working on that particular one. And I'm still, as a man thinketh, so is he. So I'm already thinking and seeing myself go over that bridge, because I'm not going to let it defeat me. So that's my determination. And so as we continue to speak positive and speak into our own selves and speak to ourselves, it's not that we're crazy talking to ourselves, but you speak it to yourself. And so, to help overcome the anxiety, and I'm not going to let it, it's not depression, I don't have depression. So,
Sometimes you gotta talk to yourself.
You do. Amen.
I
Amen.
confer with myself all the
Better speak. Yeah, and sometimes you may have to answer to. You're not crazy.
time. Question that she asked was, what are some of the signs of depression and anxiety?
A lot of the signs that I see, when we lose family members, stress, we don't know how to talk when we stress. We talk to the wrong people when we're going through stuff. We need to start talking to the right people when we're dealing with stress and anxiety, because you can tell the wrong person. If it's the wrong person, your business be all on social media now. So you gotta, just like we gotta find the right food to eat, we gotta find the right people to talk to. That's right. That's crucial. You can't tell everybody your business.
Yes.
So we're just dealing with stress. And I know as black men, we worry about our family being taken care of. Everything is not in order. There's a stress level that comes to us, because, especially if you're married, I'm not married, if you're married, you got to hear that other voice. You're not taking care of your business at home, so that can add stress. As a married person, you're not taking care of your business at home, so we have to worry about our family being taken care of.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the signs of depression and anxiety? For depression, I look at changes in behavior. If you know someone who's always talking a lot, and when they come around, they're not talking anymore, or if you know someone who's always maybe planning for people to get together and you don't hear from them like that anymore, or it's just seeing when people are kind of drifting off from their normal selves, it's something deeply pressing on them to deter them. Because, like I said, the first part was, if somebody who's happy and, they just ain't lit no more, something has, blew their candle out. And so that's some of the signs that you can look at. Anxiety is overthinking,
Yes.
or someone who maybe starting to forget certain things. So, you know, they used to remember things, or they used to know this, and it's just a lot, or, you know, so putting things in the wrong place, you know, or putting themselves in the wrong place. Those are things that anxiety, those are some of the signs that I can see for anxiety. So just looking at the signs, I would say that one more sign for anxiety is doing something that you don't really usually do, because anxiety will put you in a state of confusion and you don't know how you got there. So it's always being mindful of where you are. You know, if you know you was hanging out with a group of positive people, and all of a sudden your mind has confused you to go hang around with some negative people, that's anxiety. You know, too much of the wrong thing on your head has influenced you to drift off. So those are some of the things that I can say.
Good information. Yes, sir. Mr. Erica and Dr.
One thing I want to mention about signs of depression, I remember you mentioned mentally about you can tell by the way a person's room is what's going on in their mind. If a person is refusing to bathe, clean, those are signs of depression. The lack of order, signs of depression as well.
Yes, ma'am. Did you have any? No.
Oh, after you say that.
Yeah. And Minister Lee hit on this earlier, and I if you would take a few more minutes to hit on it again. And that's us coming to America. And we hear this a lot. Is that part of anxiety? You know, what we as Black people have been going through since birth, is that part of anxiety? You know, are we just by coming here and dealing with this country and the things that we have to go through, the regular things we have to go through. I mean, you're looking at people with good personality, they have good intent, but when you go through these things, when you're being turned down for a loan, turned down for a job, because of the color of your skin, that puts you into an anxiety state. So we have to deal with that. We have to, and that's why I keep going with this dynamic thing. We have to sit down and talk to each other. We have to know the difference. We have to come out of this and find joyous moments to bring us up on this scale. We just have to do it, and we do that by doing it with each other. We do it by talking with family. We're doing it by dealing with friends, and we do it by eating good food, by reading good books, and then watch, of course, not drinking. Watch food. We have to do this. That's it.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
That's one of the things about the difference in men and women dealing with anxiety is that they do gravitate to more drugs and alcohol, whereas women gravitate to like fatty foods that are not healthy and sugars and stuff. Therefore, then that starts setting us off on like the menopause, because you have perimenopause, you have menopause, and you have postmenopause, but you still deal with a lot of the same bad foods. So anxiety can definitely cause you to gravitate to more of the two legal drugs, which is sugar and caffeine. And then for men, alcohol, and there's a lot of sugar in alcohol. Okay, yeah.
My drug of choice. No. So anxiety, the inability to confront things in the life, that's a sign of that. Depression, I would say, a lack of optimism, right? When somebody's not optimistic, hey man, let's do this, we can get it done. We're doomed. We'll never make it. All this loss, what's the use? Okay, what do they live for? So that lack of that is called apathy, right? When somebody's apathetic and they're not moved by anything positive, that's a sign. And I'm glad Sister Erica reminded me of the fact that I did say that. I actually said that the word sanitary and insanity have the same root meaning. So when you see somebody that's becoming more unsanitary, they're increasing in insanity. So one of the major signs is a lack of self-care. When people stop caring about themselves, taking care of themselves, that is a clear sign that they are depressed or anxious. All right. And finally, just the side note, back on self-talk again. I just want to say something about self-talk. We're gonna do it anyway. Okay. The problem is when you don't realize you're doing it. Now, if you don't realize you're doing it, then can't stop. Now that's a problem. But we're gonna talk to ourselves anyway.
Oh, yes.
Right? And I want you to know and understand that sometimes the things that people say is based on self-talk that they're having within themselves, but that self-talk is not always from them. Okay? That self-talk can be from an uncle that said something to them when they were young, mama who said something to you when you was young, or daddy who said something, and you have been programmed. And then we have to recognize the triggers in our life. When somebody else says something and it triggers something that uncle told us when we were young, and then it brings back that thought again, and then we start feeding on that self-talk, that negative self-talk, and then we fall back into anxiety, we fall back down to depression, and we keep repeating those same negative programs or self-talk. So all we got to do is basically change that self-talk and get some new programming. Thank you.
Thank you. On me? Oh, okay. So, next question, due to our time restraints, how important is family support to those that are affected with mental health illness?
30 seconds.
Yes, sir.
Like I said earlier, our greatest commodity, our greatest wealth, our greatest resource is one another.
Right.
Right? So, to be able to lean on me, a family member, somebody that cares about us, to be able to go and talk to them, that goes a long way in helping us to survive mentally. Unfortunately, there has been a breakdown of the Black family, and it's something that we have to rebuild, take the time to rebuild and become closer together. And so this is why a lot of young brothers, they will go outside of the home and they will find family in the streets, right? So we have to focus on getting that family back and family is being able to listen and communicate. Now, 70% of communication is listening, and I think that's what we fall short most of the time. We don't listen. We're trying to talk or dictate, but really, we got to find out where somebody is before we can help them. So family is very important. Thank you.
Aaron?
Okay, I'll be real quick, guys. I definitely agree with that. And one thing that the brother mentioned earlier, whenever he was speaking 15 minutes ago, something that he said at the end that caught my attention that pertains to that topic, which was he mentioned how a lot of women are always checking on the men or their husbands or sons in terms of them getting checked on. While I think that's very noble, I think to a large degree as a collective, I want to challenge men, especially Black men, to kind of turn the tables and change the rules with that. In other words, what I'm saying is I think it would be very viable for men to speak life into the women as opposed to having women speak life into the men. Even from a spiritual standpoint, I think that's very essential and fruitful because deep down, this is something that's not talked about, but a lot of women, they want to look up to men and they also want to look up to men as inspiration. So with that being said, it's very important for us as men to speak life into them because, when it comes to the nature of women, they're always checking on the guy and they're always checking to make sure he's good and everything like that. Eventually, over time, that can lead to a lot of resentment and bitterness because she feels like that's a chore. She's always having to do that. When it comes to understanding women, you understand that they're going through a lot of things too. So it'll be very important for us to not just know the woman, but I'll take it a step further, know the woman more than she knows herself. I think that's going to be very important because that's going to provide a lot of comfort for her. And also, too, let me just say this, too. As men, we always want to be, I'm not saying not be God, but be God-like. Because when we think about prayer, as we're speaking to the Most High or whomever, we're seeking answers. And then after that, we don't really hear like a verbal answer because for the most part, God is not telling what he needs help with. we usually say what we need from God.
Right,
So
right, right.
from a worldly standpoint, with us men being the next thing to God, women should be coming up to us in terms of expressing their grievances, expressing their needs. Because again, us as men, it's very important for us to look out for one another and also make sure that we take care of ourselves. In the midst of all this, we have big responsibilities. But also at the same time, I do think it's important to a certain degree where while we're still getting that support from men, I want to challenge us to also learn how to help ourselves just by ourselves, like have that ability to have that stillness or get close to our creator and just having that one-on-one time so that we can figure ourselves out, that way we can go and help out the moms and the women and the children and the kids.
Right, right.
Yes, sir.
Well, the Middle Schools Farrakhan teaches us that strong family equals strong nation. Strong nation equals strong community. When you look at the family and when you look at mental health, if I come to my brother and say I got a problem, and he say I got a problem, and we both say, well, we gonna go to the source and get to the solution, which is number one, most importantly, the Word of God, and it's the things that God has put in others and put in man for us to be able to get the help that we seek. If we do that, it makes it easier for us to come out of the mental health crisis and the mental health condition, because we're not judgmental of whatever it is that we're going through or that my brother or my sister may be going through, but we're more helpful. And us being more helpful, it makes it easier for us to be able to get the burden off and the stress, and it creates a strong bond in between the family, and it makes it harder for negative things to start to come inside. Because if we, like he said, if we strong as a family, then we can go out into the community and be strong. Then we can go up a level and become a strong nation. So being able to counsel, as the Quran talks about, counsel not of sin and evil, but counsel of goodness. If the more that we counsel between each other the good things and trying to build each other up, it builds confidence. It builds human potential. It builds the strength and the willpower to be able to say, you know what, I do got this depression, but my brother spoke life into me, and I know he may be going through something, so I'm gonna do it. Or you know, my sister or my wife or anybody, they spoke life into me, so I'm gonna go conquer it. So we have to be less judgmental, leave that to God, but be more helpful to each other so that we can come out of the condition.
Yes.
That's right.
No, I was just gonna say, to your point, brother, when you're on a plane and they tell you that when that mask come down and they say secure yourself first, because if you can't breathe, you can't help anybody else. Right? So it always starts with self-care. Now, in the Bible, it says that, after God created everything, He created the sun, stars, every creeping thing that crawled. Every time He would create something, He say, "That's good. That's good. That's good." Then He got to man, and He didn't say that was good. He said it's not good that man should be left alone. So I'm going to make for him a help meet, right? And so that's the role of the woman, to help us meet, M-E-E-T, meet our obligation. So man and woman should be working together to help one another. And if the man and the woman are together, because the cornerstone, as my brother said, the cornerstone of every nation is family. But the cornerstone of every family is marriage, right? And if that marriage is not strong, and the children see the parents arguing and fussing and fighting all the time, that's traumatic in and of itself.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yes.
So the marriage has to be strong. Peace has to be in that marriage.
Yes.
And the man and woman should be helping together to meet the obligations of that household. That will cause a stable environment that can help us dissolve or eradicate the mental illness that our children are going through. And they take it to school, they bring it to school, they just witness an argument with mom and daddy, then they go to school, and then they fussing and fighting with everybody else, and then they get kicked out, and mom and daddy whoop them. Not realizing you the one that really traumatized the child in the first place. So let's strengthen the marriage, and the marriage will strengthen the family, and the family will eradicate the mental illness of our children. Thank you.
Yes, I think three things I'd like to share real quick. Number one, I don't know if this has really happened, but I don't think it's happening. I would like to see that there's more men coming together in settings like this where it's just all men and being able to support one another, and also educate health and mental health and things like that. And the reason I say that right now is because like I get calls a lot about being the speaker for the men, and I'm like, where are the men that actually can teach health and eating healthy? So if you guys like that, I would like to get your number and give you the referral instead of myself, because I think it would be good. Because just like us women, we come together for a lot of different things that lift us up and motivate us and support us, you know. And so that's one of the things that is making us stronger. But I don't know about the brothers are doing that, and I'm not saying it's not happening. I see it like on Facebook. I see a lot of men come together and they bring in their boys and stuff. But I mean, I'm in the DFW area, and I don't see that much. Okay, so I would like to, you know, because I have all brothers. I'm the only girl in my family. Okay.
Okay.
Number two, as far as thinking about the family, I think it's so important that, you know, we come together and pray together as a family. We study the word together as a family. We eat together as a family to make it stronger. Okay, because when that's not happening, where everybody's eating on their own, when everybody's going their own direction, that definitely weakens the family. So I think it's so important that even if you're not married, still your family is, even if it's just you and your kids, whether it's male and with their children, or it's a female with their children, still to come together, because family is so important. It's very important. I think about when there was some trauma in my family, and I mean, it's like that hurt me, and that just pulled me to a point where I almost went into depression. But I kept praying and interceding for my family to come back together, because we are connected by blood. We're connected by blood. So when one is weak, that makes the whole body weak. You know, so it's important. So I think those two I want to say right there.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our last question. Sister Erica,
Was it 1 minute? Okay, go ahead.
okay, so the question is, why are you passionate about healing the state of our mental health? And anyone else wants to answer?
Go, sister.
I think I wanna say is because who else gonna do it? If we're not stepping up to help with the mental issues, who else is gonna do it? They've already shut down several government programs to help with mental issues. That means we have to step up and step in. So, and we have children that's being raised that they need to see something positive. We need to stop the cycle somewhere. So that's why I'm passionate about mental health issues.
Brother Edward?
Yes, I would say, because we have the worst health on the planet, and we have the best programs in the nation of Islam to cure all that.
So read that question one more time.
The question is, why are you passionate about healing the state of our mental health?
Because right now, we're under so much pressure as a people that, you know, I meet brothers all the time when I'm out on the corner or going door to door. I meet brothers all the time, ask them how they doing. They say, I'm surviving. Surviving is not good enough. We need to thrive. And we can't thrive unless we turn within, look at our mental state, our mindset, and eradicate all of those things that are a burden and that's hindering us from solving our daily problems, finding a solution to our problems, and moving forward. So that's why I'm passionate about it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, when I walked in to this meeting today, I greeted Brother Johnny. And I went to Brother Johnny because he worked at the school, and I said, how's everything going? And he did like this. And I went down on the tone scale because I know he's going to give me some good news. And he said, a brother just killed another brother over a dice game just 2 nights ago. So that bothered me.
Right.
You know, and if you got any kind of compassion to mankind, or to your children or to life as itself, you gotta feel bad about that, and I felt bad about it, and I wanna do something about it. And I think that's why I'm glad Brother Steve and yourself invited me to this, so we can share this. I'm gonna work with Brother Johnny to see if we can maybe get some help to that kid and the family or whoever this happened to. And it's just, to me, it's just a good feeling, you know, for me. It brings me up, makes me feel good. It's good for the black family. It's good for humanity. So that's why I like it. And it's just something good to do. It's good for life. It's good that we reach out to each other and to others who have misfortunes. You know, we have to do that to each other. You know, thank you.
Brother Jimmy?
I would say I'm passionate because I know that what I was taught by Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan works. And I know it works because we started a book club in my shop, me and my brothers, last year. We had brothers who would come straight from Kimbo Road, and they would come to our book club. We had brothers that was in the streets. We actually had 2 blood brothers who was actually beefing, and we didn't even know it, just how law works. They came into the shop. We were studying the book by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Justifiable Homicide, Black Youth in Peril. We were discussing exactly why we in the mental condition that we in because of 400 years of slavery, lynching, and robbing and killing of us by persons. But to see them in the feud in front of other brothers and then come together and start a business together. To see brothers who was just about to go kill a brother, I'm talking about literally go kill another brother,
Right.
start to change his direction.
Right.
It makes you real passionate about what it is you're doing because you see that this is really working.
Come on.
Right.
So that's one of the main reasons that I'm passionate because Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan never lied to me. You know, everything that he's told me, it is 100% true, and I'm seeing that when I actually deal with the youth. Like it's like some things, like it's so many stories I can sit here and tell you. Some you wouldn't believe, but I can by Allah's grace call those people to the witness stand, and they'll tell you out of their own mouth. So that's where my passion comes from. And being someone who I never call it depression, because I know who the devil and Satan is, but being someone who know how Satan, the devil, tries to try to overcome you, and you really winning with that in the midst of this world, I can say that's why I'm passionate. That's what I say.
Anyone else?
Well, I would say that I am very, very passionate about perfect health God's way. When I gave my life to the Lord, He started teaching me or started drawing me to help people to live healthier, happier lifestyles God's way. From Genesis to Revelation talks about herbs. And so with that being said, is that I saw and I see today that plants is the designed or designated food to be our medicine. And as we feed our body properly, God designed our body to heal itself. And then it also talks about the people perish for a lack of knowledge. Why? Because they reject the knowledge. So I'm passionate about helping people with their health because this is the ministry that God has called me to do, and I don't want to disappoint Him. I want to be able to help my people because my people are crying. My people have gone through a whole lot, and I want to be the one that God has chosen to be able to help my people to a healthier, happier lifestyle God's way, mentally, physically, financially, and spiritually. One of the things that I missed saying about our brothers that helps the family out is that we need our men to go to the doctor, to get checkups, to do blood work. It doesn't mean that you have to follow the instructions of the doctor by putting you on prescription medication. You don't have to do that, but you will get knowledge knowing what is actually happening in your body, your blood. Get your blood counted so you can see what is high, what's low, or even close to being high or close to being low. So many of our people they perish for lack of knowledge because they won't go and get the knowledge about what's happening with their physical health. I'm sorry. And so therefore, you're talking about strengthening the family. Guess what weakens the family, brothers? Is that you say you want to take care of your family, but you won't go to the doctor to find out something is going on with you. And then next thing you know, you are in the hospital. You are about to leave this world. I experienced this personally myself with my own husband. Okay, he's deceased now, but he had diabetes, he had high blood pressure, had a lot of things I didn't know. I didn't even try to get to know until after we got married, and then to find out all the health issues he had, and he wouldn't go to the doctor. Finally, he went to the doctor, had a black doctor who wanted to treat him like a friend instead of saying, hey, this is what's going on in your body. Finally, he started waking up because I'm like, will you change doctors? He changed to a black woman. The black woman did all kind of tests on him and found out that the first stroke he had, he should have never had it if that male doctor would have paid attention to his body and what was going on. He started getting on a health program. He started eating healthy. I kept his vitals 3 times a day. Took it to his doctor. She saw it. She said, I see something is changing. I'm going to do something. I'm going to take you off of all of your medications. And if you stay this way, we won't have to put you back on medication. And that happened for a whole year. But then I started backsliding. He started listening to the wrong people again, his family members. And he started eating sugars and cakes and pies and all this junk stuff. I said, he's a man. He's a grown man. I can't make him do it. And then so yes, he ended up with another stroke that almost killed him. So brothers, what did that do to my family? What did that do to my household? It changed our income status because his income wasn't there anymore. It was just mine. So I still did everything I could to take care of him the best I could. And when I said the best I could, that he would allow me to do. That he would allow me to do. But I kept going. So now what? I'm a single wife. I'm a single woman again. Still doing what I know best to do is still help other people. Because the next door neighbor had a stroke too, the male there too. But he was determined to get back up, get out there and cut his yard and all these kind of stuff, and he's stronger. But there was a comparison. This young man over here had a stroke. This older man over here had a stroke. But this man chose to do it right. And this man chose to just let his life go. And I had to see that. And I stayed there with him for 10 years, just waste away. That was not an easy thing to do. So I learned right there, men, please go to the doctor, get yourself checked out. Find out what is going on so you will not what? Perish for a lack of knowledge. Why? Because you're rejecting the knowledge. Don't be afraid. You're more powerful than that.
Right.
Study your you can study your panel. If you don't know how to read it, I'll help you. The men that come to my office, I'm helping them with prostate cancer, with diabetes, with high blood pressure. And I thank God that they're changing because they are determined to not let the enemy steal, kill, and destroy them. So I'm in Arlington. I've been in the holistic health for 43 years now. I used to own health food stores. I was the first black-owned health food store owner in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So you're talking about somebody passionate about it. I stepped out on faith and opened up a store that I knew nothing really about. But I trusted God to bless me as I had that store in Wynwood Village for 10 years. And then God gave me the release to sell it. And a buyer came like GNC and bought the store. And I kept going to educate, to motivate, and to support our people in the area of health and wellness. And I appreciate the Muslim brothers over in Dallas because they would call me and they allowed me to come and speak to the sisters. So just because I'm a Christian and you're Muslim, we're brothers and sisters.
That's right.
So I love it. I appreciate you inviting me. But I want to say, when you said about the family, yes, I experienced this kind of stuff. That's why I speak on it. I'm just saying, brothers, don't be afraid to go to the doctor. Don't be afraid. Get that knowledge. And then start working on it holistically. But if you at that stage where you have to do some medication, don't forget, you still got a foundation to build. And that the herbs is what God put here. And there's an herb for every disease. So when it comes to cancer, you may have to do radiation. You may have to do chemo. But if you strengthen that foundation with the right foods, the juicing and meditation and prayer and fasting, it'll strengthen you so that that radiation and the chemo won't destroy you.
Right.
So if you need my help, I'm in Arlington, 5070 South Collins Street. I'm inside the private airport, and I go by appointments. And I have a tool called the Zyto Compass. This is a FDA-approved medical device where you put your hand on, and it scans your whole body. And it does tell you about mental and health emotions that you may be dealing with that are stressors. It tells you about your detoxification system. It tells you about your diet and nutrition. So you may think you are eating right, but that scan will tell you what you really need and what's stressing your body. So we can turn this thing around before it's too late. Thank you again for this opportunity.
All right, so we are over time, and we are so thankful that y'all stayed, and we are thankful for our panel. We will field one question from the audience, and so that we can be respectful to the Doc's Bookstore and how they allowed us to use their facility from 1 to 3. Yes, sir, Brother John.
Yes, sir. I'm like,
Why, excellent.
I think one of the things that I really wanted to see us address was trauma and postpartum in dealing with that as men, as we deal with the woman that may be going through postpartum. And then also understanding how, as men, we deal with postpartum in going through that. And then also, how do we address the trauma of a miscarriage? How do we address the trauma of a miscarriage? And what does that look like? And also, in talking to a young brother the other day, it really was something, he was getting prepared to have a child, but the little girl mother took her to have an abortion in New Mexico. So his mind was prepared for this baby. And it was another brother, Dr. Jamal Williams, that worked for the county commissioner, not Brooks, but Roderick Miles, and how him and his wife had a missed pregnancy. And they was getting prepared for the baby and thought they were gonna have a child, and then to find out that the child didn't come. So these are things that we start to talk about Black men and dealing with a lot of the trauma. And I look at it with the program that me and Aaron work with called Fathers with Pride, to where we start to address those issues of trauma during pregnancy, trauma after pregnancy. How do you deal with postpartum? What does that look like? When she's going through that, how do you handle that? Because a lot of times we don't know how to handle it, and we don't address it. And then we don't even address it with ourselves when she's going through that postpartum. Until, like, we talk about the listening and this, and to the point of it is, when me and my wife lost our child, it was just to the point of it is, as a community, just get over it. Just get over it. You know, so those are things that I think that we really, when we start to look at this, we really need to see how do we address that. The brother talked about the mass suicide that's going on with a lot of our young people. I don't know if we heard it, and you have heard about it, suicide by cop, where you really don't have a gun, but you're hoping they shoot you. Or you just come down and go through mill and bury as fast as you can in a car, hoping somebody will hit you so you don't have to be here no more. So when we start to look at it, how do we really get to the meat and potatoes of when we're dealing with not just people in this room that know some, but being people that's out there that don't know that they may be going through. That don't know that they may be going through. That's like our children seeing trauma the other day at South Hills Elementary. 2 dads get into it during the graduation. They remove them, they go outside. The brother stabbed the other Hispanic brother 8 times. And the children seen this. So when we start to look at this, how do we start to address it? But it has to find a way to come out of our circle to be addressed, work in the community, to where we can really look at how do we talk about this?
Yes, sir. So absolutely, you're absolutely right, 100%. However, in the 1 to 3, we cannot cover all that's what's wrong with us in our community. It's one of those things that we got to continuously do. It's got to be an ongoing effort, and we got to continue to create panels like this, and also get our community out so that we can start the healing process. So, but I thank you for your question and comments, because all those things need to be addressed. So, thank y'all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Anything else?
We
All
want
right.
to thank the Ministry of Health and Human Services giving up for our chairs for so signed up. And yeah, we hope that you guys enjoy it. We thank you all for coming out too. I'm gonna close out in prayer. No, Brother Steve.
Oh. All right, could you please stand for prayer or assume a position you're most comfortable with? Prayer. Oh, Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief, and we seek thy refuge from laziness and lack of strength. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and negligence. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. Oh, Allah, suffice us what is lawful. Keep us away from that which is prohibited, and with thy grace, keep us free from want that is always beside thee. Amen.
Amen.
So y'all gonna be on
This month.
Ready? Yeah, you're gonna be there, right? I see you.
I'm ready for that.
Man, I think she. Yes. Y'all feel free to order your snacks as well. She can't sit. All right, I think she'll you too. You gonna give me it's not my race. I just got the girly one we had. Oh my God. I could not do it. Oh, you did? Okay.
I didn't say black. I said black. Perfect. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Last time you saw me, baby, they were born. You can't just tell somebody you heard one day. Well, 3 months. I was
Oh, we got refreshments. Please, we got refreshments.
I said last time you saw me. Really good. I did so good. I wasn't expecting it. How long was it? Like 10 p.m. Like 2 a.m. How long? I was well. Okay, my water. So I didn't have to do that shit. Now we're going to like. You know what? all the I'm back to that doctor. I like this.
So cute.
It's okay.
Yeah, but yeah, they might down there. We'll be there to give us certain things.
It don't matter. Maybe working in town
Because they ain't so.
We look at here right there. Yes. That's for the beach. Like you picking it 8.
She turned 8 tomorrow.
So you graduate when? So y'all got more than
Oh, we streaming it.
tired? Graduate Wednesday.
Becca. You gonna say that?
8 o'clock in the morning.
So y'all will be at home.
Oh, you knew that? Oh, you can see.
First
Oh.
young boy, the young boy song getting right already. I think the first young boy song 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, you didn't see.
I say, all right, because I
Came here out here after go back home. He did a great job. It was pre-recorded to Jordan. So to get my degree, what do you mean? No, I'm doing it. Good job, Mom. Good job.
Yeah. Y'all was nice about that. Is that what y'all was working on that day? Oh, okay. It's the Ministry of Health, right? Oh, okay.
Way on the way, boy.
Oh, I didn't know. So I changed he added it now.
You just all right. Your son finna give you the runaround.
Okay, but I still look.
In the street.